Hi, I'm Dave Wurzel, and you're watching PHTV4. This is Bookshelf, and today on Bookshelf we are doing a special youth and teen edition. We're going to take a look at titles that are for children, young children, all the way through teens. And to do that with me today is my co-host, Tina Rizala, who is the head of Youth and Teen Services at Palos Heights Library. Tina, thank you for being here this morning.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
This is kind of exciting. Normally, we talk about adult books, but there's this whole audience out there, especially at the library. Young kids, little kids, and so we're going to take a look at a variety of titles and a variety of categories for a full age range, and maybe you can help us out. I know the titles we're going to recommend today are all out within the 2022 year, so we're looking at new releases. Mm-hmm. You might find some ideas for your children or for gift giving with the holidays coming up. And we're going to start with picture books. What age range is picture books typically?
Typically, they go from baby all the way until, I would say, probably about second grade, even though I still have nieces and nephews that are like in 5th and 6th grade, and they love reading picture books.
If it's a good picture book, it's a good picture book no matter how old you are, right? Yeah. Okay. So picture books, newborn all the way in the second grade, plus or minus, depending on what their interests are. All right, the first book we're going to take a look at is yours.
So the first book is The Pigeon Will Ride the Roller Coaster, and this is by Mo Willems. And the pigeon is constantly getting into all kinds of crazy antics. There's a pigeon will ride the bus, there's a pigeon will drive the bus, and a pigeon will eat a cookie. So this is The Pigeon Will Ride a Roller Coaster. And the book starts off, he's very excited about going to the theme park, riding a roller coaster, and then he finds that when he gets there, he is not so sure about riding this big roller coaster and doing all these loops and turns and everything. But in typical Mo Willems fashion, the readers will find everything that this pigeon does hilarious in the book.
And I'm sure it works out somehow,
yes.
Right? This is a New York Times best-selling author here. These books are incredibly popular. So you've got the new release out now if you want to take a look at this one. Okay. Another one that's a very, very popular series. This one is from Aaron Reynolds. This is The Creepy Crayon. And another New York Times best-selling author, and we had the Creepy Carrots, and The Creepy Pair of Underwear. The titles are great. Titles alone makes me want to pick them up. These books are out newer than my kids, but I have seen them before. I'm familiar with them. So anyway, The Creepy Crayon is the third title in this installment, and in this labeled Hilariously Spooky series about a young rabbit and his peculiar encounters featuring, in this case, a sinister crayon. That would be the creepy crayon in the title. Jasper Rabbit has a problem. He's not doing well in school. His spelling test, disaster. Math quizzes, frightening bold. But one day he finds a crayon lying in a gutter, purple, pointy, perfect. Somehow it looked happy to see him, and it wants to help. The premise sounds funny, but I get the fantasy part. Like if you're a kid in school taking quizzes or tests or writing, you get nervous. What if you had that magic thing that could help you do it?
Yeah, and the unique thing about this is the crayon pops up when he needs it most. So he's not feeling good about taking the spelling test, and then there's the crayon. So after a while, the crayon pops up in places where he doesn't want it to pop up, and he's just like, I need to get rid of this crayon. It's another great book.
Oh, it sounds fun. It sounds fun. The Creepy Crayon there. All right, let's take a look at another picture book here. What have you got?
Yes, so another picture book is Eyes That Speak to the Stars, and it is by Joanna Ho. And a lot of her books are about seeing the beauty in diversity. So in this particular book, it's about a boy, and he is just getting into like his own skin, and a classmate kind of wants to bring him down, belittle him a bit, and he draws a picture of this boy in a new light. So it's not favorable. It's kind of poking fun at his features. And this boy, he turns to his parents and his family, and he's just like, this kid drew this hurtful image of me, and his family kind of like rallies around him to support him and let him know, like, no, you need to support your features and things. Like, not every person looks the same, and that's great.
I say children's books, I think, are getting really good at addressing issues that kids face in school, right? While the fairy tales were classics and wonderful stories, it seems the newer generation of stories address the real life experiences of kids in a much closer to home kind of way. And certainly I could see where this might do that. So those are picture books.
Yes.
Recommending 3 titles for you. Now we're going to take a look at chapter books. This is a slightly older audience here.
Yes.
What age group are the chapter books falling into?
So the chapter books are generally geared toward, I would say, 2nd grade, and then some of them skew as high as 8th grade for the chapter books, depending on content.
Right. Okay, so again, another large age range here, and you'll find this in bookstores and libraries. You can, they'll have that for you. And we're going to take a look at several titles here, wide variety of categories here.
Yes.
As you get, chapter books get a little bit more complicated. This is a mini novel now at this point, right? What have you got first for us?
So the first book that I'm recommending is Booked, and it is by Kwame Alexander. And the good thing about Booked is if you have those readers that are reluctant and they just kind of like want to play sports, or I know I have a lot of parents like coming to the library, they're saying my son just won't read, like he only wants to play basketball. So Kwame Alexander, he writes a lot of his books are about boys and they play sports, and the books are told in verse. So it's kind of like a quick read, and it's he's a very great author. He also wrote The Crossover, which won a Newbery. And Booked is about a 12-year-old boy who is playing soccer, and he struggles with like everyday life and problems and things like with his classmates and bullying in school. And Booked is just a great book that shows readers how he navigates through these everyday issues.
It sounds like a really good book. Maybe to qualify, because I've read young adult books like this that are written in verse. So maybe for the audience's sake, writing in verse doesn't necessarily mean like I think a lot of people think of the sing-song rhyming type verse. This is typically free verse. It will feel much like reading a novel, but the lines are broken up into shorter or poetic lines, right?
No, exactly. And that's kind of like the neat thing about when boys pick up this book and they see like, oh, it's so many pages, like it's really not, because the author has broken down.
Right, and they read fast, they're turning pages. Okay, good. So Booked by Kwame Alexander, good book to take a look at. All right, another book, snuck in. This is a series that's been around forever. My kids read it, going back 15, 20 years ago. And the Magic Tree House series, we're on book 36, Sunlight on the Snow Leopard. But as a side note, book 37 is coming out in January of 2023. Right. So I don't know that you need to read them in order, but you could jump in anywhere, but you might want to go back because they're so entertaining. Again, another best-selling series, and this one is going to follow Jack and Annie as they time travel to the snowy mountains of Nepal. It sounds like an exciting adventure, the way all their books are, I think. In this case, the Magic Tree House is going to whisk Jack and Annie to the Himalayas in Nepal, and they're searching for the mysterious gray ghost. Well, they're supposed to be. Jack doesn't actually want to find this ghost, but he and Annie are excited about all the amazing animals they're going to see and exploring. So excited, in fact, that Annie and Jack, get lost in the mountains. And then the question comes, can they find their way home or escape before the gray ghost finds them? These are fun books, very entertaining, very adventure, exploring kind of thing. All right, another chapter book.
So this is a graphic novel, and it is by Svetlana Kamakova. And the title of this book is Enemies, and it is part of another series of books. So if you get this book for your child or you give it as a gift, let them know that this is part of a series. It's the Berrybrook Middle School series. And in each book, the author kind of tackles on different issues. So this particular book is about a girl named Felicity, and she kind of like gets into a little argument with her sister, who tells her like, you never finish anything that you start, and kind of just tells her like, pushes her aside, and she's like, you need to finish a project to the end and complete it. And Felicity she's having fun in school, and she is in art class, and she ends up getting into a competition with like one of her friends, and she's kind of realizing like, is this friend going to become an enemy now? Like, are we going to like hate each other? Are we going to feud? And that's kind of like what the story is about.
It sounds like a problem that maybe if not all kids, almost every kid is going to experience at one point while they're growing up.
Yes.
Navigating the relationships like that.
And she does want to prove her sister wrong. She wants to prove her to her and her friend, like, yes, I can finish a project to the end. And so hopefully she will finish it.
And I want to make a statement. You identify as a graphic novel. I haven't read this. I'm not familiar with it. I've read graphic novels for young adults and adults, and they are different than, I think, at least in this country 20 years ago, well, it's a comic book. No, they're not comic books. There's something different. They feel more like regular literature, but in a graphic or illustrated form. Not the same as like an illustrated children's book either, you know.
No, right. And at the library, we do get like some parents that come in and they say, no, read a real book, but graphic novels are real books,
Right.
and if you should just be happy that your kid is reading and wanting to like read these books.
Oh, I would agree. And there are some graphic novels that are absolutely incredible. I mean, award-winning, very sophisticated, exploring, you know, especially like in this case, real issues, serious things that, you know, have meaning for the audience. All right, we're going to take a look at one more chapter book here. I've got this one. This is The Rise of the School for Good and Evil by Soman Chinani. And as a side note to this is also a #1 movie on Netflix right now.
So good.
So you've watched it?
Yes.
Have you read the book? Do you know?
No.
So now you
but
need
I
to
really
go back.
want to.
All right, so there's a recommendation for the Netflix series, and or the movie, and now let's go take a look at the book. So the book, The Battle Between Good and Evil begins. You've got two brothers, one good, one evil, and together they watch over the endless woods. I like the, setup here. Together they choose the students for the school for good and evil. Together they train them, teach them, prepare them for their fate. Then something happens, something unexpected, something powerful, something that will change everything and everyone. Who will survive? Who will rule the school? The journey starts here. Every step is filled with magic, surprises, and daring deeds that test courage, loyalty, and who you really are. But they only lead you to the very beginning of the adventures that are the School for Good and Evil. I mean, it's a great setup.
Yes, so I will say that the books for the movie that is currently out right now, so there's 3 books that came out, and that kind of like sets up this movie. But the books start off with students already in the school. And this book actually takes us back to the beginning. So why did the brothers open the school in the first place?
Okay.
So it kind of like, we jump backwards now.
So so it would make sense to even start with this book.
Yes.
And then continue on forward to 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
Okay. All right, good. All right, now we're going to move to young adult books, and this is a slightly older audience now.
Yes.
Who is this age? Young adult books are what age range are we talking?
So I would say probably around 7th and 8th grade up until high
through
school.
high school. Okay. All right, and I think you're going to take the first title. What do you have here for us?
Yes, so I will preface this by saying that there are 2 books that I was looking forward to for young adults for being published. This is one of them. So the title of this book is Bloodmarked, and it is part of the Legendborn cycle, and it is by Tracy Deonn. So this is book 2 of the Legendborn cycle. The first book is titled Legendborn. So in Bloodmarked, the powerful sequel to the instant New York Times best-selling and award-winning Legendborn, it's perfect for fans of Cassandra Clare. And in this book, the shadows have risen, and the line is law. All Bree wanted was to uncover the truth behind her mother's death, so she infiltrated the Legendborn Order, a secret society descended from King Arthur's knights, only to discover her own ancestral power. Now Bree has become someone new, a medium, a bloodcrafter, a scion. But the ancient war between demons and the Order is rising to a deadly peak, and Nick, the Legendborn boy Bree fell in love with, has been kidnapped. Lots of stuff to unpack here.
And it is a fantasy world going
Yes.
on, which is a very popular genre right now, I think. Has been for a while.
So it's a fantasy world within our world. So this girl, Bree, she is a college student, and there's kind of like the secret Legendborn society where if you do have ancestors that were part of King Arthur's court, then you are in this society. She didn't know that she was part of that, and she also has these powers, and she's still going to college again.
Right.
But yes, there is also fantasy a fantasy world that she is now a part of.
Okay. Well, I like it. Sounds exciting. And I like the King Arthur tie-in, too.
Yes, so good.
Wonderful connection. All right, we've got another young adult book here. This is The Family of Liars by E. Lockhart, another New York Times bestselling author. Referred to as the addictive prequel to the TikTok phenomenon, We Were Liars. The story of another summer, another generation, and the secrets that will haunt them for decades to come. It's another great setup here. I love the descriptive language here that the critic is using. A windswept private island off the coast of Massachusetts, a hungry ocean churning with secrets and sorrow, a fiery, addicted heiress, an irresistible, unpredictable boy, a summer of unforgivable betrayal and terrible mistakes. Welcome back to the Sinclair family. They were always liars. A lot going on there. Just the imagery alone and the
Yes.
description is a good setup.
And this family, they also come from high society. And I have not read A Family of Liars, but I read the book titled We Were Liars. And the thing about the book is you read it, and in the book, the title alone is telling you we were liars, but I kept on getting duped when I was reading the book. And that it was so good. Yes.
All right. So another, bestseller there, Family of Liars to check out. All right. And we've got one more young adult book we're going to recommend.
Yes. So the title of this young adult book is Once Upon a K-Prom, and it is by Kat Cho. And this book is recommended for anyone who has a child in their life who is a fan of K-pop or a fan of BTS. So this book is about a young girl who is she is in school, and everyone around her is getting excited for prom, but she finds that she's not really excited. But then we later learn that her neighbor, actually they were best friends, and then he left and he joined this K-pop band, and now he's like coming back to her life, and he wants to take her to prom. But why does he want to take her? And she's not very popular in school, but now that this boy is back, well, now she's getting popular. So yes, it's one of those.
Sounds like it's got the teen
Yes.
drama. I'm familiar. I was teaching
If
the
you
high school.
love
Okay, so Once Upon a K-Prom by Kat Cho to check out.
Yes.
All right. Tina, thank you very much for being here. A lot of great titles. Thanks for the recommendations. All age levels here, whether for your children or grandchildren or maybe gift giving for the holidays. Thank you.
Yes, no, thank you for having me.
I'm Dave Wurzel, and you've been watching Bookshelf, a special youth and teen edition. Some great books coming out in this last year. Thank you for watching, and good reading.